Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with John Vuong from localseotoday.ca. John is the owner and the founder of Local SEO Search. John helps small and medium-sized businesses rank on Google and dominate their local market with a strong emphasis on relationships. Now, John treats his clients like family, wanting you in particular, listening or watching right now, to not only rank, but also for your business to grow and succeed. So, John, glad to be talking to you.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, Robert. I'm excited to be on your show today.
I don't know, I'm excited to have you. I feel like there's always a ton of questions when it comes to like search engine optimization and local things, because it always feels like there's like things we're always missing out on, right? Like that pesky Google My Business listing, or you hear about having like a domain name with your city in it. So that way you can rank for like someone looking for, plumber, San Francisco. But then again, so many things come and go, and sometimes there's like the untapped resource, and then Google swoops in and says, no, we've changed the rules. So when it comes to like search engine optimization and local search and all this crazy new things happening, like where do we start? Like where do we even begin to think about tackling this problem?
As you know, more and more people are in front of a computer than ever. So search engine optimization is vitally important for a lot of small, medium-sized businesses. People are constantly searching on Google by keywords. And as a business owner, you want to just be more visible, prominent. So understanding the foundation of why customers go to Google in the first place. What are they looking for? When they go to a website, what kind of content do they want? Answer the problem, answer the questions that they're seeking out, right? So positioning yourself as a strong business to answer and solve problems for customers who are seeking out your product or service, and emphasize what makes you unique, what makes you stand out, what is your value prop, right? What is your service offering, price point, product, or whatever it is. Understand the foundations is so critical, because people forget and they think SEO is their God-given secret to be the best business owner in the world. I think it's the opposite. I mean, you need to know how to run a good business, then tie that into a more online visible presence by getting more visible with search engine optimization. So then when people are seeking you out, you already know how to take care of those clients. It's not the other way around, right? So people forget that. So I would always say, take care of running your business, understand how to run a business, understand how and listen to your customers. Then translate that to your website, translate it to the content and everything else, from URLs, title tags, meta, links, social reputation. There's so many other components, but the foundation doesn't, like, people forget that the foundation has to be strong in the first place.
And yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. It's like there's the big boulders that are important, such as what are your customers looking for? How can you help them out? How can you get in front of those keywords? And then there's all the little pebbles, all the nooks and crannies like meta tags and heading tags. And it seems like people like focus on the little itty bitty stuff, and they're missing, like you said, like the foundation. And something you said in there is you said like people forget these things, which kind of it implies that like we've heard these things and then it was a good idea and then we just threw it out the window, or we applied it for a short time and then forgot. And like your way of thinking here, it makes so much sense that like number one, SEO, Google search engine traffic is not guaranteed to you, right? You need to think about like what are people searching? Like you said, more people than ever are on the computer. Like if I'm looking for a plumber, I'll go and Google search, or I'll Yelp search, and I'll look for reviews before doing anything else. I'll see like, is there a listing? Are there like a bunch of reviews? Are they recent? I mean, we all research these things ahead of time. And then something else you said there is that like people have these sorts of problems coming in. And what comes to mind, at least when you say that, is like, if I'm calling a plumber, I'm like, well, does he work on, a septic tank? Can he, like fix my shower or something like that? So, and it's like, these are like really fundamental things that it's easy to forget, right? About like, what are those handfuls of questions that people have, and how can we maybe even like solve their problems while they're on the way to finding us? So to help us kind of maybe wrap our heads around this, do you have like a favorite like client or industry or example to share with us to kind of give us like a scenario or a story for this whole local search thing to make sense?
Yeah, so I deal with a lot of small, medium-sized businesses that are mainly professional service type businesses, from trades to the professional lawyers, dentists, chiro, physio, massage. Um, they are servicing a regional area, community or city, but they also have a lot of different types of services within their practice, right? Or their business. So when people are seeking out these type of services, they're typing in what they're looking for. Let it be a navigational search, like I'm looking for teeth whitening in the city of Toronto, right? Or I'm looking for a new dentist for my son that's 5 years old, whatever, right? These are keywords that typically people are typing in, longer tailed, but relevant to them. When they're seeking that out, you want to at least be an option. So you have to answer that question. Be there with enough substance, position yourself as a thought leader, and that takes time. So you need to know how to run a business, make sure everything checks all the boxes out. Website, awesome website. Content, fresh information, depth, research, all optimized through whatever Google algorithm wants you to optimize. Then comes third-party reviews. Get good third-party reviews from RateMD, OpenCare, Yelp, Yellow Pages, all these other sites, Google. And then of course, it's all about like, what else is Google looking for? Links. They're looking for, what are other people saying about you? Are you a part of associations? Are you part of other citations and directories and other things? Like, I always look at foundation. I always going to come back to this because I did work at Yellow Pages for 5 years before I started this company 7 years ago. And those business owners that took care of their customers, understood them inside out, they were generational businesses. Today, with the advent of the internet and technology, the speed of business have really, really picked up. And if you think that with the speed comes, you're going to have success quicker, you have to think about that, right? Because it still takes time to really understand how to run a good business, understand how to take care of customers, how to really develop and make yourself differentiate from all the other dentists in the local area. So if you look at all the ads on social or Twitter or Instagram, they're always saying you can make X amount new clients or X amount more dollars in revenue in a short period of time. That's their purpose, right? To really get you to click, to get you in a funnel, either email or a sequence, where then they're going to try to sell you something. Is that how your ideal customer actually searches and seeks you out? Probably not, right? People who are clicking on ads versus organic is a different profile of customer. And if you're looking for the best type of customer, they're the ones that are in control, seeking you out, as opposed to you pushing stuff at them. There's a difference between advertising and inbound marketing, right? SEO is more inbound because that customer is seeking your product or service out, and they're vetting you from all the other dentists out there in the community. So again, we deal with a lot. We deal with hundreds of other customers, and my job is to not just educate, but position my clients to become experts in their domain, niche, city, local area, with all the major services that they really want to be known as and specialize in, right? And then really just make them elevate, make them become more visible, and attract their ideal customers, because anyone can get any customer out there. You spend enough money on ads, you'll get any customer. What's the quality like? What's the return on investment? And what's the lifetime value of that customer? There's a difference between SEO, good SEO campaign versus AdWords and marketing and advertising.
And man, you're making me, as you're explaining all this, like I'm thinking back to all these various times when I had to call a tradesperson to fix this or that in the house. Like there was a time when I needed like a little bit of fence repair, and I made some calls around, and all of the fence repair guys, they only wanted to work on like huge jobs. They wanted like hundreds of feet of fence. And I said, I just have a little backyard. Can you just fix this little patch of fence? And a lot of them said no, but then the ones that did, that's like all he did every day. Like the marketplace was wide open for him to do this specific, like repeatable job that a lot of the other like competitors he had did not want to do because they felt like it wasn't worth doing small jobs, but he just had them all lined up. And there was also a time when I had a broken garage door, like the garage door opener itself just wouldn't open. And same deal. I called around and I either got no answer, or we can come out in like 2 weeks, or like, I think I might got phone calls back like 3 weeks later. And then the one guy that showed up, he picked up the phone, or I think he might have called me back like 5 minutes later. He showed up right away. He showed up like that same day. He like knew what the exact problem was. I think he knew even ahead of time, before he even looked at the garage door, like how much it would cost and what the work would be. And then there's also like sometimes when people like follow up and do all that stuff, but it seems like there's just all these marketing fundamentals that like so few of these businesses do. And I mean, it makes sense that a lot of them don't have the marketing fundamentals because they focus on the work, right? They focus on what they love. And then what I'm hearing from you is there's like 20% is like just what they're doing, which is what they should focus on. And the 80% are like all these various things that you mentioned, like the yellow pages and the Yelp reviews and things like that. So it seems like what I'm hearing from what you're saying is like a lot more like constant repeated energy needs to go into all these different marketing channels. But it sucks to do it if you just want to be the worker, just want to be the tradesperson, right? It's like it makes a lot more sense for a person like you who knows marketing, who can just do all these daily, weekly tasks just to stay kind of on the ball with everything.
It's just like, why do you hire a tradesperson? You can do it yourself. There's a lot of Home Depot, Rona's, and all these places, Lowe's. You can go buy the stuff. You can then go to YouTube to figure out how to do it yourself. But what's your time worth? And will you do it right the first time, or wrong? And you're gonna have to hire someone anyways, right? So it's like positioning yourself as an expert, right? You know the best practice. You know you've been doing it for many years, and people want to pay to get it done the right. Do it once and get it done properly, right? So again, anything can be taught. You can be any profession, any trades, any person you want, right? Unless there's designations required, like a lawyer or a dentist. Yes, you gotta actually train to be educated and certified. But aside from that, any tradesperson can learn it, right? But why do you seek someone out and pay them $300-400 an hour? Because they have been putting in 20 years of knowing exactly what needs to be done, and they'll fix it in 20 minutes versus you trying to fix it in 4 or 5 hours and probably not doing it right, then hiring someone else to do it.
Yeah, and so with your answer there, it seems like all these tradespeople out there, again, whether they're like a lawyer or like a roofer or like whatever this skill is, if those people out there have this frustration of like, why don't they just call me? Why don't they just call me to fix the roof? Maybe these people should be maybe applying that same thinking towards people like you who do the search engine optimization. Like, sure, you could learn all these other things, but there's like the years it took to learn it, and then the minutes it takes to actually do it. And so yeah, this makes a lot of sense that like in the same way that someone could learn whatever home job needs to be done, or any like legal skill or accounting skill or whatever, why not just get it done? And then that way it doesn't need to break. Because like, growing up, my dad always thought he could fix everything himself, and just everything was janky and everything was broken. And like, it's just, I wish there was like a real sort of professional contractor. And it's sort of like when you walk around the neighborhood around Christmas time and you see all the Christmas lights, when you can see it was a professional job or like done by a team, you see like all the lights were like evenly spaced, and like somehow it just looks like more long lasting and better when you know that it was like done with a professional. So this is making a lot of sense as far as a lot of people thinking, well, I've done it myself and I'm getting maybe amateur homemade results. Maybe it's time to like turn on the fire hose. So as far as like the usual kind of halfway done job that you usually see versus like the job done right, as far as local search and SEO, like what do you see really being missed out on, or people that really like what goes really wrong that you think really needs to be corrected with a lot of these businesses?
So because they're not in it on a daily basis, they get misinformation. So a lot of business owners think they could do everything themselves, but there's so many hats that they have to wear, from operations, marketing, sales, finance to maybe there's a team, then you got to deal with customers and customer service, all that stuff. All these are segments of running a business. And then comes advertising, and within advertising comes SEO or website. Website management is completely different than SEO as well. And within SEO, there's divisions. Like in our company, we have content, we have link builders, we have social media, we have developers, we have SEO consultants, strategists, assistants. Like there's so many other subsets of it. So when you say you're an expert, even as a plumber, there's master plumber license, there's residential, commercial, industrial, there's drainage, there's septics, there's, you know, different things within that division, right? As a plumber. So that's why I feel like when you're a business owner, what's your time worth, right? Opportunity cost. Can you earn more doing whatever you're doing and get more customers and taking care of them and charging them more per hour or per job than trying to figure this out where you think you can do it and to save a couple of dollars or a couple hundred or a couple $1,000 when someone has been doing it for 10, 20 years, they'll do it a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, better results than you'll ever do unless you are really skilled at it for the next 20 years. So it's the same thing, right? You have to understand your strengths and weaknesses, understand your gaps and opportunities. And a lot of people don't understand SEO and what impact it can do for businesses. But I'm telling you, it's the best ROI if done right. The challenge is people pay for what they get. They feel that they will pay a lot less because they feel that's what it's worth. But if done right, you'll pay properly with a real campaign that will result in a real significant increase in revenue and sales, right? So again, you have to weigh your pros and cons.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I think that, you know, there's always that kind of fear or that hesitation, like you kind of alluded to there, how there's the thinking of like trying to balance like the money and the time and being like, well, I'll save all this money, but then, yeah, you're going to put in all this extra time to not get as good of a result. And then if you think of it in terms of like, well, what if instead of trying to deal with this website headache, what if you just got a few extra like residential plumbing clients? And how many would that take to pay for all the SEO work that you didn't have to do? I mean, what if you got like one extra like repeat client and just that like one or two covered the SEO bill? That seems like it makes a lot more sense and seems like a lot less of a complex business to have to run. And so when you talk to some of these like various tradespeople, contractors, people like that, like what's usually the objection? What's the hesitation with them working with you? Is it like, I don't believe in advertising, or I don't believe in the internet stuff, or I'm worried that it'll become too complex? Like why, like what do people usually say to you when like they're afraid to take that next step?
So there's a lot of misconceptions with SEO because they've probably gotten emails or calls promising, guaranteeing everything, but they have no idea what it is, how it works, and what it can do for you. So the challenge is I always try to educate and inform first. With tradespeople, it's a little bit more difficult because they're usually not very tech savvy, let alone if they enjoy going online, or they're so very old school, they just want to call as opposed to text message or email, right? So there's different people and you have to understand where they're at in their business and take some time to educate them, right? Handhold some of these people versus ones that are extra savvy and they feel they're much younger, they're grown up with, the internet and computers, and they're smartphones are a part of their life, right? Versus the old school ones that aren't. So you just have to understand where they're at in terms of their journey and their livelihood. And for me, I think that's the biggest gap, right? Educating, they're uncertain. So for me, that's the biggest challenge. But usually when people seek you out, they feel very comfortable because it's more about like your position as an expert. So when they're reaching out to us, they're already pretty close to the buying like end stage. They're just vetting out 2 or 3 other vendors. They know they need it, but they just don't know who to go with.
Something that like I mean, first of all, my brain is just blowing up with all kinds of little ideas like that we're mentioning here. But like what I think like a repeat like statement that we're having in our conversation here is like, well, when people think about like internet or like promoting their business on the internet, they think of like paid advertising, right? Which it's an interruption. It's like if I need that that you know if the sewage burst yesterday or if the toilet won't flush today, I mean, I need that fixed now. Like I will seek that out. And I think that like there's so many like businesses out there that they're just they're not going to really get the new customers they want just by with all this interruption. And like it's a more important to have like this foundation we're talking about set up from the get-go. And even some of these things that you're mentioning, I mean, what you're making me think of is, you know, what if some of these tradespeople like had even just like an email opt-in form, right? Even had like a funnel, had a sequence, had a way to like book a job online and like choose an appointment on a calendar. Or even like you mentioned there, like if these people say, well, I'd rather do things over the phone. I mean, like what if it was possible to like, you know, send a text or like call and have an employee like pick up the phone and schedule something right then while the tradesperson is like doing the job that they love. And so it's like there's all kinds of cool ideas that are popping into mind as you're explaining all this. And like as we all know, like it's a different size job depending on the needs of these different businesses. So how can people like reach out to you, contact you, and like explain their needs to you and get this kind of conversation started with you to get some more customers, get some more internet promotion?
Yeah, definitely. They can check out my website. It's www.localseosearch.ca. You can also check out our podcast, Local SEO Today. I worked at Yellow Pages for 5 years. My VP of sales was there for over 30 plus years at Yellow Pages. So we combine work with over 10,000 small, medium-sized businesses. And that's what we bring to the table. That's a little bit different. We really help educate. We understand the business, small, medium-sized businesses. We connect with them and we understand your problems and troubles, right? So we can really help you, guide you with the right decision. Owning real estate on Google is a little bit different than renting space on Google. And if you're in real estate, you'll know the difference, right? So it's a lot harder to save up, but once you're there, you're in a good situation. Renting it, you're always constantly having to fork up money to be there. And more customers than ever are wanting to be in control as opposed to being interrupted. So that's the difference with SEO. So be informed, be educated, know the difference, and reach out if you do have questions.
All right. I mean, yeah, and that's a great way to think of it. If you're renting, you're always catching up. And if you're owning, you've built something that exists and it's a lot less upkeep to stay where you're at. And as we're sort of wrapping up, winding down, I'm really curious if there's like a really like good tip, like a quick tip that we can all apply to maybe our websites to rank better in like local SEO search, and like something that like things that like to throw out as examples is like, I can't believe how many business owners like don't know about a Facebook pixel where someone can go to your site and then the ads follow you around, and you know that even if you are running ads or you choose to go that way, you know that like those people you're running ads to know you, have been to your website, which is like a cool concept, but a lot of people aren't aware of that. Or something else that comes to mind is I have a handyman that I hire and he has a blog full of content like, here's how to hang a flat screen TV, and you need this equipment and you need to drill these holes, and you could go to Home Depot and buy these things, sort of like you mentioned earlier, have like you could do it all yourself. And he has all these very detailed blog posts with like steps and pictures. And I'm like, for a handyman, that's like very unexpected, but very informative. And just by that existing, you're like, he knows his business, he cares about what he does, and he also understands that like you're doing your research and you want to be informed. So does anything along those lines pop into your head as far as like a quick tip or an easy win that we can all apply to our websites?
Yeah, like all of that makes sense. Positioning yourself as an expert means everything, which is take care of your customers, keep producing good, detailed, in-depth, well-researched content, amplify the content, syndicate it on across all multiple assets, own all your assets, like there's so many components to it. There's not just one thing. I would say keep producing good content, right? If you can't do it, hire someone to have it on a regular basis, because that's gonna really solidify you as an expert, not just in your customers' eyes, but also Google's eyes, because they see that you're active.
Oh, fantastic. Well, and so the place to look all this up and to do some research and get the gears turning in our head is localseosearch.ca. And if what you see there makes sense, then contact John and his team and discuss your needs. Because as John said, like maybe you want to be the person that writes the content and then John and his team go and amplify it, because there are so many different social media, video sites, guest blog posts. There's so many ways to get syndicated. You could spend all day long, or just have him and his team do this for you. And then the place to listen to that podcast to get even more advice is localseotoday.ca. But the place we really want you to go, in fact, maybe even consider go right now while you're still listening to this podcast, localseosearch.ca. At least get there, at least get your browser or your phone open to that page. That way you can take the next step, and you know you need it because you're listening to this episode. Your business needs this, and you could wait around 5 or 10 years and wonder what could have been, or just get the ball rolling on this today. So before we close this call down, anything to just say to finish things off here, John?
Business owners, I mean, I know everyone's stressed. You're running around. There's so much going on, right? Focus on your strengths and delegate. Whatever you don't like doing, or your challenge, or you're not strong at, find people. You can in-house it, but really work with good people, right? And ultimately, it will bring you happiness.